The top four race takes another interesting twist when Manchester United lost 2-1 today at Old Trafford to Fulham. Now, on paper, this would quite possibly be a game that Manchester United would have as a win. They have won their last 4 games. And coming into this game, Manchester United were probably confident of getting one over Fulham, who they have a tremendous record against. As a matter of fact, Fulham have not had a victory at Old Trafford since 2003. Coming into this game, Fulham would be very wary of Manchester United because despite their inability to play well, they have always been able to pick up results in recent fixtures, and most recently against Luton Town, who were extremely impressive but managed to get away with nothing. Now, Manchester United are a team that needed a result today because Aston Villa, unbeknownst to United, were winning kind of comfortably against Nottingham Forest. However, Forest did make a fist of it towards the end of the game and right in the middle when they were able to pull back to 3-2. So Erik ten Hag needed to get something out of this game, and he didn't. But anyway, guys, it's your boy Izzy. If you're new to the channel, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. The first half of this game was interesting because Manchester United did not impose themselves whatsoever. As a matter of fact, this was a very poor performance from Manchester United. Fulham seemed to be on top for a vast majority of that game, and in the first half in particular, Fulham had a lot of shots on goal. They even managed to hit the post with Munoz. Now, Manchester United did have a few opportunities on the break, and Garnacho was able to test Leno in the Fulham goal. But the thing that is very apparent about this Manchester United performance is that Manchester United are a team of moments, and they always seem to try and leave those opportunities to where they are chasing the game. And Fulham took control of this game in the first half. Their passing was good, and even when they were on the break, they were able to break down Manchester United. Now, we've seen them have performances like this before, and I say Manchester United have performances like this when we saw them against Wolves early on in the season, when they just looked as though their midfield was being torn apart. Now, it wasn't helped by the fact that Casemiro had to go off early after a clash of heads, and Harry Maguire was very lucky to stay on the pitch after he trod on a Fulham player. So Manchester United's performance was disjointed, but sometimes they always seem to be able to hang on in these games, and towards the end of the first half, they were having a bulk of the possession, and that just seems to be what Manchester United are able to do. They always seem to leave it late, whether it's in the first half or in the second half. And as we went into the second half, Fulham still played the much better side, and Manchester United didn't even have a shot up until the 70th minute. But in between that moment, Bassi was able to get Fulham ahead with a wonderful shot on the second attempt after a corner kick. And Manchester United's defending was just woeful at this. The fact that they would allow a defender so much space in the center of their defense is something that they need to question. Erik ten Hag has not really made his team play as a team. They seem to be a team that just rely on certain individual moments to be able to get back into a game. Even after Fulham went ahead, Fulham was still much the better side. And going into the last 10 to 15 minutes of this game, that's when we saw Manchester United kind of spark back into life. And Fulham were looking as though they were trying to hold on to the victory at this point, or even try to make sure that they just don't lose the game. And that mentality is generally what hurts a lot of the teams in mid-table, because instead of pressing on the gas and trying to get a second, they always seem to try and revert back into type. And it's understandable because when you go to Old Trafford, and with such a big history behind Manchester United and their ability to come back in games, even this season, well, you could understand why Marco Silva decided to go on a more defensive setup towards the end of the game. He brought on Diop, and he did have an outlet when he tried to bring on Traore, but that was pretty much because Reed had been going through the motions and he's not fully fit all the way. Manchester United still decided to leave it late, and the pressure kept on coming, and Fulham could kind of feel the walls closing in on them. And the more the game proceeded, the more you just had this feeling that Manchester United would get a point or would get a goal despite not playing well, and it would be scant reward for Fulham, who had pretty much dominated most of the game. This is the thing that Manchester United fans are going to be absolutely apoplectic about. They can't understand why they seem to have this start-stop nature as far as their play is dictated. Last week against Luton Town, they were extremely lucky to be able to get away with a win, and that was because Luton Town, despite playing very well for the rest of the game, had gone 2-0 down after the first 7 minutes. And so when you start a game off off that badly, it's not that easy to come back. And Manchester United are a team of very talented individuals, but some of the petulant ways that they play, especially when Bruno Fernandes doesn't seem to get his way, is something that will irk Manchester United fans, because he's a very talented player, but it always seems as though if things are not going his way, he doesn't galvanize the team. He just tends to bicker a lot with the referee and with opposing players. But anyway, Manchester United were able to get back into this game when Harry Maguire was able to get a goal in the 88th minute. The Manchester United player was able to find himself in a good position. He had been leading a lot of the attacks towards the end of the game. And for somebody of Harry Maguire's reputation, especially as far as the last few seasons, it is good to see him come good with a couple of goals whenever Manchester United need him. And his performances have generally been okay whenever he plays. And in some aspects, towards the end of last year and at the beginning of this year, he was playing okay. So it's good to see him being able to get back to some of what we knew him from, especially when he played at Leicester. But Manchester United were now 1-1, and it was very lucky. The scoreline at that moment did not reflect how the game had proceeded. But Fulham were being punished because they had decided to sit back. Now, Traore was ostensibly put in to try and give Fulham an outlet, especially on the counter-attack, and that was a very smart decision by Michael Silva. At the point when it was 1-1, kind of looked as though Manchester United would be the team that would go ahead and get the victory. I mean, we've seen them do it a couple of times, especially against Brentford and against other teams where Manchester United just seemed to get that quick 1-2 punch and they put teams to the sword. It didn't happen this time because Traore was able to find some space over on the right-hand side, and he was able to skip past both Garnacho and Maguire. And at that point, you kind of felt as though this might lead to something. He was able to find Iwobi, who flat-footed Onana in the Manchester United goal, and with that, Manchester United's top four hopes took a very huge hit. Now, Onana was flat-footed, and we generally see this happen to him, but this was one of those opportunities where I think Alex Iwobi did very well when he gave him the eyes, and he shifted as though he was going to try and curl it over onto Onana's left-hand side. But either way, Manchester United were punished, and they were punished with just cause, because they had put in a performance that was putrid, and a lot of their defending had left a lot of things wanting. Now, where does this leave Manchester United? They are now 8 points behind Aston Villa, who had won 4-2 against Nottingham Forest. They did have a bit of a tough time in the middle of the second half when Nottingham Forest did fight back, but Aston Villa had pretty much blown them away in the first half. Now, in this game, I was trying to keep abreast of both sides, so I had two screens. And I had started off with the Aston Villa game because I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. I had given Manchester United the victory in this one, and so it was a surprise when I tuned in and I found the game at 0-0, and I decided to watch that from the second half going onwards. But at this point, Manchester United are going back to type. They did not play well, and they did not play well against Luton. And next time off, they face Manchester City. And we know how Manchester City are right now at this point of the season. City have not been playing at their brilliant best, but you can't really give Manchester United that much hope going into a game that's very crucial for them. And if they don't watch out, they could easily find themselves 11 points behind Aston Villa in that fourth place spot. But fifth place is still reachable, and if it will turn into a Champions League spot, they would hope for Tottenham to not get any points this weekend. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Manchester United are not the strongest team in the league, but for them to put in such a poor defensive performance against Fulham as they did today, and this inability for them to stamp any type of authority in a game, Manchester United played as though they were the away team today. And Fulham should not have come into Old Trafford and controlled the game in the manner that they did. And with Ineos in attendance, it looks as though Ten Hag might not be the guy to take Manchester United into the promised land. But anyway, guys, leave your comments down below. It's been your boy Izzy, and as always, until the next review, peace.